Now where did I put that? Welcome back to Dallas County Iron. This is not where I thought I was going to end up or start with this video. In this video I work on the trunk. I get the body mounts, at least the top pieces put on, and I get the trim taken off. I have to stop and remember where I am on this video. I do get the front clip removed. So we have all that done. You're going to see a lot of things about the front clip and everything else that I've done already. There's still a lot of work to do, and we'll get to it. You get to see what I did. Okay, as you can tell, this part snaps on. The larger pieces bolt on, but this one, I already took the other side off. Kind of just politely wiggle it, and it kind of pulls out. You don't want to get too rough with them; they will bend and kink. Unfortunately, one of them already has, but I watched enough videos to where I think I can straighten it. Yeah, the other side, I actually hit the side of my garage coming in and bent this piece out like that a little bit. But once you get them off, put them back on, just kind of pop it. So it should come off fairly easy. And that one's coming off a little bit better. Might have to get a little screwdriver in there and see if I can't pry a little bit, get that one off. The other side came off a lot easier. But like I said, I'm going to have to paint, and there's little press-on metal strips in there. They've got a hole in the middle, and they've got two tabs that bend up, and you push them in, and then they hold it in place. I don't know if I can get light in here enough to see. Get my handy dandy, super expensive Harbor Freight light here. Opens pretty good. All right, move things out of the road with my butt. I don't know if I can get up there high enough to see it. Well, let's see what I can do. Yeah, I might have to get on the floor. Show you. Well, you can kind of see it there. Maybe. Where did it go? Come on, camera. Do the camera thing. Oh, there's the bolt. So the larger pieces, they got a nut and a bolt going through them. There should be a couple more, maybe. Let's find that other one. And oh, you can't see in here. Let me go to the back. I can see them in the trunk. Oh, that might just be part of that. Where did I see those? Well, apparently that's just a piece that goes on the back here. flare out, apparently on bolts. Yay, blinded by my own light. Anyway, kind of sort of how that comes apart. But those little clip things, I know I saw them somewhere on here. They're just a metal clip stud that goes through and they push on it. It's a stud that goes through the hole or the wall, the panel, and then there's a piece of metal that shoves on it. I don't know. Those are all bolted on too. But anyhow, the larger pieces bolt on, and the smaller pieces just have those clips. So we're going to attempt to pull some of this off, and then I'm going to start taking the front off of here. So I'll set you up and you can watch what I'm doing. Alright, I'm finding out these body clips pull out, because they did. So I'm going to get a little baggie going with all my body clips so I don't lose those. Start pulling these guys out. That gives me a reference point of where I can paint, where I got to stop for the black and the green. So we'll get busy with that. I was going to set the tripod up over here and show you what I was doing, but I started playing and that's what I found out. So let me get it set up. We'll work on the driver's side first, and then we'll go from there. thin piece of press, whatever. Ones that never go back on the way you want them to. But I got that side up. There's a Phillips screw on the forward part of this back trim, and then there's 2 bolts in the back. I'll try to take them off next. Holding these on. There's one up here, one somewhere around here. So we get this taken off. I have one side mostly done. Turn this around. Obviously, I gotta take that clip off, and like I said, if I gotta take this thing, might as well get as much around. on this one. They decided to snap off. They did have a little rust on them because there's none in the tie again. So let's hope I can fix that later. Another problem I'm having is right about, I don't know if I can even see it. Anyway, that nut right there, as you can tell by the fact that you can only see part of it, is that little mishap up here. You know, rough night at the bar. I'm not really sure because I wasn't there. Anyway, put a kink right there and bent that up so I can't get a socket on it. So unfortunately, I left the tool I was going to use up there. Then it's straight, but this is a second piece. This piece right here. I'm sitting on the floor, so I can't really give you a good shot of it. But anyway, I'm going to take them off. And there's one more nut right in front of this boxed in area. You can reach it. I don't know how well I will, but we'll try it and snap that one off, and then we'll pull the front panel off of here. That'll make it so I can separate the fender from the rest of the car. And then eventually, let me turn the light around. I'm blind. And now it's on the floor. What's the glove that I just had in my hand? Where did it go? You'll never find that one again. That's okay. Anyway, we'll get back in here. Get those taken off. One on the other side. It'll be easier to get to them without the body in the way, or the fender's placed. And then we will attempt to figure out how to drop the frame from the car without damaging people, places, and things. So I've been busy taking the bolts off, or in other words, snapping them off. Let me fall down here, get down here and show you. Not as good as I used to was once. I'm gonna shut you off. Alright. Those two bolts snapped off. Those three, or two of those three snapped off. The far two actually go to the front piece, the actual trim piece. You can see it over there, the blue one, or green, whatever color that is. Anyway, so that did that. And then there was another bolt there, I think. Those two came off. The ones for the frame, or the fender itself, have the clips snapped. So now I'm using a pair of vice grips to get that. This one, where the whiskey den is, as you can tell by the way that it is, basically just pried the bolt out with it, and I'll reshape that with a hammer when I reshape the fender. So that's where I am now. I've got all of these bolts out. So I'm just working on the top fender bolts. And there's three inside the door. I'm gonna have to take the hinges off so I get to the last bolt up top. And we'll go from there. Let me get you set up and you can watch me hopefully high-speed this if my phone decides to actually record it again this time. We'll see what happens. discovered why all these other YouTubers pull the front clip completely off. Yep, in one piece. Because lower valence is keeping me from pulling this fender off. So I'm going to have to pull. Here, let me switch it around. Well, that's great. I didn't hit the button. So, to recap what I just said, this is loose. But that won't let go of it. So, I find the finger. That piece is loose. This piece is loose. Those pieces will be loose. I got to take all of that off. I take the center, the latching mechanism brace completely out because it attaches to that lower valence, which that's going to come out. Is that another bolt? No, it's just anyway. The garbage that's still on this from when I pushed it in here. So I've got a little more work to do. Mind the finger. I've got a little more work to do. I gotta take them bolts out. I think that this piece he's ready to fall out. All the pieces and parts that are broke. All the little clips that hold these bolts in here, they broke. And then half the bolts broke. Because, you know, there's no rust in this car. Anywhere. Air conditioning. Oh, something else. If anybody has a picture of how the defroster blower motor gets installed, because I know the fan motor bolts right there because I took it off. Apparently there's a defroster motor that goes on the inside that connects to that tube that connects to the defroster area up there. I think it connects to this little valve thingy. I got stuff falling everywhere right now. This valve thingy for that's where the hot water goes through there, and they got a mechanical shut-off for it. I hope it still works. But I think there's a box that attaches to that. Of course, that box is completely gone on the inside. So I'm thinking somewhere around here is a box that attaches to it, and I think the fan attaches to that box. So if anyone's got a picture of a complete dash or under dash that shows all that, that would be great. And I can figure out how to put some of that back together. But yeah, we're still fighting with fenders and things. And, you know, if I had known what I was doing when I started, this would all take a lot less time. Except for I'm snapping bolts off at a record pace. But they can be replaced. So, yeah, we'll see what we can get done. So, I'll get back to this tomorrow. Well, we're back. I took a couple of bolts loose up front there and kind of leaned on the fender and it fell on the floor. So I twisted things back around to get that one bolt to pop out of the fender, and that piece of I said the word yesterday. Anyway, it's straightened back out a little bit. There's a little bit of tweaking I got to do to it, but I'm sure I can get that straightened out pretty easy. Basically took the top two bolts out. There was a center bolt that was holding up that bar across the front. It's holding something over the trim. And then took the bolt out of the base, and that came out. And like I said, I kind of looked over to see what was going on, lightly touched the fender, and it went boom. So got that apart. Got the inner wheel well laying over there holding up the fender. Pulled all the wires through earlier so it wouldn't get caught up in anything, so that part's done. And now we're going to get this guy off. easy it is to take off a front fender. It only took me 3 hours. Yesterday it took me 6 or 7 hours just to get the other side loose. It definitely was a learning experience. I learned a lot. There's a lot of bolts that I'm going to have to replace. You know, because no rust on the vehicle whatsoever. Anyway, so there'll be some drilling and tapping and JB welding bolts back into place. See how well that works. I did know that the body trim on the bottom I had to take off. Obviously you saw that. But yeah. Let me show you something. The only bad thing about the chrome, it likes to wreak havoc on the metal underneath it. Especially on the bottom where all the salt, you know, since this is Iowa. And we are in the Rust Belt. So, and the fact this thing's set for probably 20, 30 years. Maybe. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. I'll get this all moved. I'm going to tuck it over there with the other fender. There are 2 more bolts to get that front bezel off. I'm going to call it a bezel because I think that's what they call them. There's, I know there's a technical word for it and it's just not coming to me right now. But anyhow, we have definitely made some progresses. Sorry about you looking at my chin. But I'm going to get the radiator support out next, I think. And then I'm going to rethink a bunch of stuff. And we'll see where we're at. Okay, I've got the radiator support out. Obviously going to have to do a little bit of repair work over here. Because, you know, driver's side never takes any abuse. But we're getting closer. Also, look at the bolts on that thing. I was going to start out the conversation with, man, that thing's got some nuts. So we'll finish the conversation like that. But, yeah. They were seriously supporting something. Anyhow. So we got that taken out. Now for the heavy duty stuff. I'll have to pardon the collection of junk I got over here. Like I said, I need to clean everything up and organize it, put it back where it belongs. But you can see this piece here, that piece there. I think it's still attached from something. Oh, there goes everything over on that side. You can see it's more of the carnage I had to do. Alright, this piece was, looks like it's kind of pressed out. We're laying on underneath the washer here. And then this piece, I have to investigate that one. Almost looks like they welded they pressed this out, pressed and flared that out, and welded it together. And as you can tell, that goes underneath that piece of metal. Right about there. I wonder if I can get that pulled out now. And probably after I cut a few more things out. Oh, it actually got itself wedged underneath that plate. But that's going to give me a shape to kind of go by to make this bottom piece, and then I can make the top piece based off of what I see over there. And then over here, I'm going to do the same thing. Check out the other side and try to mimic that. But as you can tell, maybe you can't. Oh yeah, there. You can see the light. So that's kind of a rounded edge, and it looks like they welded it to the bottom of the frame, or the body here. So that's just a stiffener. And that has to go clear back into this and I'll get that piece built, hopefully. Look somewhat like what it's supposed to. And then I've been trying to decide whether I just want to use my flat stock over here and make new floor, or thinking I might be able to. But again, that's a little farther down the road. But once you take that inspection cover off, and granted some of the bolts decided to stay where they were, you can get to everything. So that's going to make it easier if I want to, after I put everything back up, work on the brakes and everything. But like I said, my goal is to pull all this out, frame out eventually, get it cleaned up, and by the looks of things, I don't know if you can see that, probably can't. I can feel it go clunk. So that means probably need to put ball joints in. But I kind of think I need to investigate all of this, make sure it's in good shape. That, or it could just be the kingpins are bad. I don't know what this is. I know they've got a kingpin repair kit for it. That's probably what it is. And, you know, I've never dealt with a kingpin before. So that ought to be fun. Plus I gotta chop all this grime and stuff off here. They definitely oiled her up. You can see it's all blowed out everywhere. This was covered in motor oil or whatever. Looked like tar, just like the side of the motor did. Pardon my finger. And of course this is just dirt, rust. You know, basically neglected car sitting in a field for however long it sat. Okay, so I have updates. Yes, it got cold out, so I'm using my turbo heater. So it's going to be a little loud in here again. I've got all the body mounts removed. All the bolts cut loose. Had to get my handy dandy grinder out. There it is. Cut that piece off. It's laying down here somewhere. Parts of it is. And had to do the same on the other side. That's showing me some things. I've got the service panel out. So now I just got to figure out how to support this body so it doesn't kill me when I lower it. But I also got steering wheel taken apart just in case I got to take that steering shaft out. But I think, well, thinking isn't really one of my strong points, but I think if I have to, that'll all slide out without too much more intervention by me if I need to pull this frame out. We're going to attempt to drop the frame, and somewhere down the line I'm going to try to drag it out and maybe power wash it off and get it painted up, but currently I'm just trying to figure out how to rebuild all that. So I'm going to start welding the body mounts in, the top plates that I just made. That way I can line them up with the body mounts that are, or the rubber mounts that are underneath. Kind of, you know, line things up so I weld the bottom plates in. They'll be lined up with the holes. But we're having a little issue. Let me show you what's going on. As you can tell, I'm still welding through the steel, and I've got my ultra expensive high dollar baby TPS welder set at the lowest setting, and we're only plugged into 120 right now. I don't think this one will do 240. So that's where we're at. So I'm going to fight with this for a while. I don't know if I can set you up on the tripod or on the stand to watch, but sorry, shining right at the light. But we'll see what we can do. I think I've got it butchered in about as good as I can get it. I mean, that's gonna hold, hopefully. I'll hit it with a hammer real quick and see if that makes anything jump around. But I might hit a few more spot welds to make it a little bit more secure. But that's what I got, that's what I'm working with. Looks a little bit better. I think that'll hold for what I needed to do. Gonna clean up these welds a little bit and grind them off, make it look a little bit better. But I think that's gonna do for that, and I'll continue welding and cleaning up after myself and the rest of the stuff. I just dropped my welding helmet again on myself. Yay! You know, I've got this funny hat on so that nothing wants to stay put. Yay. Anyhow, we'll keep doing stuff until something tells us we're doing it wrong. So I thought to myself, I got tired of hitting the tar with the grinder, so I thought I'd clean up a few things, and look at what I found. More speed holes. See that one right there. So, like I said before, I'm going to focus on the body mounts, get them set, and then we'll take care of all this other miscellaneous welding patches that I need to do. So I came over here, and you can tell they did a really good job putting a bead of caulk down there. obviously I'm going to be covering up a lot of rust. But, I mean, this is what they did to protect their seams. And one of the guys that does body work, I think it's Pole Barn Garage. This is my piece that I'm putting in. You can tell it doesn't cover, well, that's the top piece. But I also found a few more holes. But it's going to cover up that, which will be good. I found another hole. Another one over there. Those are tiny holes. We can patch those with whatever we decide to patch them with. But just so you know, whatever I do in here isn't going to be any worse than what they did when they put the thing together. I mean, they smeared stuff, pardon me, they smeared stuff all over the body panels to keep them from being quiet, or keep them from making noise. And those snapped off of the holder, the things that hold the trim on. Yeah, they just snapped off. I mean, the bolts came off just fine, but where is it? There it is. Yeah, that piece of metal decided to say, I'm leaving the chat. Same with that guy right there. So, we got either manufacturer clips, or see if I can find them. Where are we? Oh, there we are. Yeah, and this is how they protected the hole that they bolted this piece of trim on with. Just wadded up some mastic or roofing tar. Once you put that in, and just pushed it in there and smeared it in and called it good. I mean, it takes effort to make all this stuff, and I know it takes effort to weld it all together, but I guess when you spot weld things, you got to keep it from getting moisture all over everywhere. So you just smear it full of roofing tar. And yes, I got to fill that. That's a big hole in the fender back over here. Just thought I'd update you on that. Oh, sorry about blinding you. So, yeah, I was cleaning this area up, got tired of the tar getting in my flap disc. So I thought I'd punch a bunch more tar out of here and just see what's going on in this corner. They had a big pile right there. I mean, it was about half an inch thick, and it, I don't know if you can see where I'm doing that. Nope, you can't. Anyway, that back corner section was full of tar. It's like they just dumped a bucket right there. Yay. Anyway, we'll get back at it after lunch. there you have it. I've got all my plates welded in, albeit not very gracefully, but they're in. And I'll show you what they look like. Hold on. Alright, so we'll go with the ones we can see right away. I mean, tack welded in, and like I showed you, it's probably closer than what they were doing. Yes, there's a gap there. Probably gonna have to just drop a couple of pieces in there. Nothing I can do, that's the way it pressed out. But it's stronger than what was there before, at least by one layer of metal. And as you can see, I got them fairly centered. Mind the finger. You can see that one very well, but actually that's a chunk of dirt that or tar, or whatever the hell it is. And that one. So now I've got a pattern to go by. Throw a few more tack welds around here maybe. Give it a little more strength. Put a few more over here. But that is where we're at. Now, and believe it or not, this is giving me a little more happiness. Now she's looking like she's coming together. I cut a little deep in a couple of spots and burned through a couple of spots. You saw me keep tacking a certain hole. It's because there was a bigger hole in it. Had to fill it up. I mean, we still got other areas to address, but those are small compared to these. These support the dang vehicle, so kind of need to do something about those. So I'll have to look at my numbers and see if I want to call it here to start on the rest of the mounts up front or what. But if we continue, you'll know. Right now I don't. But yeah, I'll finish putting some welds in on some of these. I think I got plenty on the other ones. I'm gonna have to grind off that extra tab or just bend it over. Maybe just bend it over. Sounds like a better idea. I mean, an extra layer of steel, even though it's a tiny one, won't hurt nothing, right? So we'll go from there. I mean, I've got a hole I didn't know I was gonna have when I built my pattern. There's that guy. And then the whole crack right here I'm gonna have to fix. I can just weld a piece of flat underneath that. That's just one layer of steel, so if I can fix it up. I don't know about this butt welding. I mean, the way I'm going here, blowing through everything, I don't think I want to try. I mean, it's a good welder, but for flooring and stuff like this, I probably could have got a higher price one, but this is what I've had for 10 years, so this is what I'm using. So, we're going with it. Other than that, I mean, I scraped a bunch of the tar off of here. The rest of the wheel wells for now look good. We'll just see how it all ends up. But for now, that much is done. Yay! hold just fine. Maybe not that one. If it's a problem, we'll come back at it. Oh, found another hole. Imagine that. Just a few little, oh, that's nothing. That's a chunk of metal. Just a few little holes. Not concerned about those. These guys, like I said, they're the ones. So I bent that over and welded it in and sanded her down. I mean, it ain't pretty, but like I said, until they covered up their stuff. So, might as well go with the flow on this one. And there we have it. Trunk area is almost complete. I just got to put the bottom pieces on and they're painted. I might throw some paint on all this stuff, but I think my next effort's going to be cleaning out the trunk. But I got to figure out where to put this junk. Spare parts, more spare parts, other spare parts. Spare part that's missing. Oh, there it is. So yeah, you got to get some of the garbage, fine material out of here, and then we'll go from there. Well, I got the junk in the trunk out. Found some cool little things in there. Yeah, I know, I still haven't welded that. It's only been half an hour. But, see that little hole there? I don't think there's anything rusted through yet, but I haven't got down that far. And then you see this mat of tar in the corner. That's what I cleaned out of the other side. I had to get the vacuum out and suck up the rest of this fine dust. But for the most part, like I said, this half of the trunk is finished. I just gotta get the bottom half for the motor, or the body mounts. And then move on up to the front where everything along the side of the car is pretty much toast, and everything in the front of the car is pretty much toast. So we'll get that done. I think I'm going to throw a coat of paint on this just to slow things down. I don't know. Probably need to get the rest of this tar out of here first, then paint it, and then recoat it with tar. You know, like they did. And then, well, we'll recoat it after everything's done. Because I've still got a couple of holes in the fenders back here. Got a little bit of repair I need to do to the front fenders, right down where it meets the front of the car. You know, the back part of the fender where it bolts up to the body of the car. But that's going to be another episode, pretty certain, probably before I start putting the body panels back on. However, it's not going to be today or tomorrow. It's going to be a bit. But I'm almost impressed with the work I did. And again, people, I am not a professional body man, obviously. I'm not a professional welder by any means. But I have a welder. I know how to use it. Kind of. Sort of. Allegedly. But for now, this is what I got. We will chat later. As you can tell by the way that it is, yes, I'm stealing from that YouTuber again. Got everything scraped off. There's something that looked porcelain over there. Don't know what that was. Knocked off a chunk of solder back here. Okay, whatever. Got everything done. Honestly, my handy, trusty, never fail on me hammer decided to become a shorty. Don't know why looks like something my father used to own, and he broke the handle, and that's how he fixed it. Go! The heat is making the metal expand on part of the car. Yes, it's that cold. What I was thinking is, I have holes, and I can line stuff up while the frame is still here. So, why not try to do something with what I've got available, and then drop the frame. Still got to cut the top off of that bolt over there. Cut the top off of one over here. But the stud says I'm staying. So fortunately the washer is underneath all that, so it's going to fall out, and I can grind or cut it off with my trusty $5 cutoff wheel from Amazon. Got one of those diamond edged ones that's supposed to be good up to 5,000 cuts. Well, so far it's kicking butt, kicking names. So that's a good thing. Also, I found out those are clips that I can remove for the interior. And I discovered while I was over here playing around, let me flip you around here. Yeah, that's a piece of cardboard that comes, well, it used to come, where is it? Oh, there it is. That piece of cardboard obviously is the inside trim panel, and it comes all the way over here. I lost myself. I believe the all the way down here. The tap thing up here. Could be wrong. Most times I am, but at least I know it goes down to here. So once I take this piece of metal off here that's supposed to hold the wind door seal, I'll be able to tell more. And again, I'm just kind of doing this stuff, whatever flies up my skirt. That's interesting. That could be a problem. Apparently that goes underneath that rubber gasket. I wonder if I can get that shoved in there. I don't know. Something I'll have to investigate later. And again, if anybody knows where to find this cardboard that's supposed to go in back here, for the side panels and whatever else, you know, that trim, let me know. I'm not real sure where I'd go find it. I'd kind of like to redo the interior on this thing eventually. And it'd be kind of cool to know where to get this stuff. I'm sure it's all over the place. Probably not that hard to find, but I'm going to need it eventually, because I know there was a piece of cardboard back here. Hopefully you can see it. And I yanked off the piece that was back here. Where is it? Okay, apparently I paused my phone, but here's some of that cardboard. Go right back here on the back side. If anyone knows where that stuff is at, put it down in the comments, and maybe, just maybe, we can do some of this interior work while we're got everything tore apart and disgusting. If anyone knows how to tuck fabric in there, let me know. Hopefully I'll find a screwdriver and see if I can pry it out a little bit. I think I got a lot of it wedged in there. I'm hoping it just flops open. Then again, as young as it is, you know, fresh off the factory floor, I'm I'm sure that's going to break and disintegrate. Only if I'm lucky. I do have a heat gun. I can try to soften the blow a little bit. But we'll give that a shot. See what we can do. I did notice that, where was it? One of these places, I cleaned it up really nice. And it's telling me, I know one of the viewers, or one of my viewers said something about it being San Gabriel green. This is too bright for that. I do have a color code, and this is more like the Miami green. Looks blue, but it's actually kind of a greenish tint. I don't know if that helps any enough, but anyway, probably going to be looking for that color of paint, which I know doesn't exist anymore, but maybe I can take a scraping or something, take a panel in and see if they can get it close, see what we can do. Alright, that's enough of that for now. Well, that's going to end it for this video. Like I said, we got metal work done on the trunk. You got to see a lot of sparks flying. Hopefully nobody had any seizures out of it. We did get the trim taken off, got the front clip removed, worked on the monstrous bolts on the radiator support, and definitely got some pretty good things done. In the next couple of videos, there's going to be more body work. Definitely going to do the front half of the car. The frame will be down, or is down on this video. No, it's not on this video. It'll be down on the next one. Let's stop and remember where I'm at. Like I said, I had this whole section was going to be one video, and if I would have put it together, we'd have had 2.5, almost 3 hours worth of video, and I don't think anyone wants to listen to me that long. I know I don't. Anyway, so that's where we're at. We are making progresses. Right now, what I'm looking at is a hell of a lot more complete car than what you're going to see at the end of this video. But it's getting there. It's coming around. I'm actually very excited about the progress I've made, and hopefully you guys are too. Again, like and subscribe, share, make comments. I listen to them. I respond to them as much as I can. And, basically you guys just tell me, hey, it looks great. You tell me about all your cars that your family's had or things like that. I like hearing it. I really do. Again, this is just a dream I've had for a long time. This isn't the car I wanted to work on, but maybe this will give me enough knowledge on how to do it again on a different car. We'll see. But yeah, I'm actually really excited about what's going on here. The body is the worst thing. I mean, everything else is mechanical. This is a little more brain work, head scratching. How the heck am I going to do this? And I've actually made some really good progress. So you'll see that in the upcoming videos. Again, I'm sorry that this is like dragging on forever, and there might be 2 more videos. I don't even know how much more footage I have, but we'll keep moving. And hopefully you guys are excited to see this thing slowly come together as I am. And like I've mentioned before, projects are big if you look at the whole picture. If you stop and look at the one place I want to work at today, or for this week, depending on how much time you have, it's not as scary. But you walk out, oh my God, I got so much to do. Yeah, you're never going to do it. So you got to pick one thing to do it, and when you're done with that, pick another one. but we're getting there, and I'm getting more excited every day. So again, I appreciate you guys. Like, share, and subscribe. It does help the channel a little bit, and eventually maybe we'll make this thing I don't know, better. I have a couple more vehicles I got my eye on. Pardon me. I have a couple more videos, or vehicles. I have a couple more vehicles if I can learn how to speak. English is my first language. Bad English is my... Yes, you understand. So anyway, I have plans to get other vehicles, but I'm gonna have money for that. So we're just gonna continue on with this one, and we'll see where we go. And when we're done with this one, we'll see what comes up next. So we'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys. We'll see you later.